But Vault of Glass coming back is like that's everybody's been asking for that. So I'm
I was
excited.
saying this actually. They should have called it the Vault of Slash because they're slashing content. So it should have been just the Vault of Slash. They totally missed out on that.
I'm glad we have an intro for this video now.
It's overnight.
What is going on, guys? It's your boy Nogi. Welcome back again with another episode of The Filler, the only place where you can find conversations about literally anything from gaming, comic books, and video games. As I said, I'm Nogi, here with my host, MARU.
MARU, what's up? What's going on, guys?
And my other host, Pepper Jusimanru.
There you go. That's an intro.
All right, that's what I call an intro. All right, guys.
Yeah, so Destiny, man.
We got some things. We got some stuff. We got some things and stuff.
We got a lot more than I thought we were gonna get.
I
think we were due for it, weren't we?
It was
Not 100%, but I was thinking like, my expectations going in was okay. They're gonna talk about whatever's happening today, and we're gonna see a glimpse of what's happening in the fall. And they were like, yes and yes. Oh, we're gonna tell you what's coming in 2021 and also 2022 and going forward. So I felt like there was a lot, and I'm just happy. I just want to get this out there real quick. I'm just happy that I was finally right, and that they're coming with a fourth subclass, even though Nagi was like, no, that's not gonna happen. And I'm just happy.
You know what? I'll give it to you. You know why I'll give it to you?
Let me just get one win, bro.
That's what I'm saying. Because I'll give it to you because you have never, for as long as I can remember,
Shut up.
You have never been right. No, but honestly, definitely a lot that they threw at us with this reveal. It was one of the first times that they actually gave us a lot more than we can chew. It was really more of a satisfying factor, mainly because of that, because they didn't follow the original format that they always did in previous expansions, where they would just, kind of bring forth the conclusion of what was previously happening and then show us a glimpse of the next step or the next chapter. It was like, no, this is what's happening. This is already done. This is what we're working on now. And that was something that was really enlightening, because we're always, no matter where we are in the community, whether you're PvE, whether you're PvP, whether you're lore, whether you're weapon analysis, whether you're gear analysis, whatever it is that you're doing, we're constantly thinking about what's coming next over and over and over again. It never stops. So the fact that they kind of answered that question for literally the next 3 years, it's like, all right, you got it. Cool.
What do you think, Perp?
Like I said, I think we were due for this. Number one, I think one of the good takeaways I had was the fact that they promised to stick with D2. There is no D3 in the horizon for at least the next 2 years, which is why I think they showed us this huge, like, all right, here's 2021 and 2022. The problem is they're pacing with storytelling. Now, I can't see that far in the future. I don't know what they're going to introduce other than these subclasses, and we get to harness the darkness, blah, blah, blah. But I've always been rather upset about the storytelling element and how it's been lackluster. And I say that because the Exo Stranger is finally coming back, obviously, this fall. It took her about 7 years, right? What, not 7 years. Almost 7 years, right?
No.
About yeah, give or take.
5 years, 6
years,
whatever.
Like
They're finally revisiting that
from
story.
The original Destiny campaign.
Exactly, and then she was never seen or heard of again.
Mm-hmm.
They want to give us little bits, little spoonfuls of like story, and then expect us to piece it together by reading things on the outside. It's boring. That's always been boring. It's always been superficial garbage. And I'm a person who loves to read that stuff. That's great. Then we see this and we're like, all right, finally we get some story, but how well is it going to be told? And I say this because I've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Odyssey recently, and harkens me back a little bit to Assassin's Creed Origins. Ubisoft decided to come out with these games, and they are told much better. And they had to rebound from a really terrible release, like release after release, yearly releases that the games were just really bad. And then the most recent two were just really good storytelling. So it makes me hopeful.
So sorry, don't mean to cut you off, but for the people who are watching, if you don't know the context behind that, both me, well, not both, but all three of us, myself, Maru, and Purple Juice Man, are like major advocates for Assassin's Creed. We love the franchise, and we're like super, super in tune with the storytelling, literally deep into the archives of the game. So trust me, like when we're talking about Assassin's Creed, you know there's a reason for it. We don't necessarily throw that out there, but
no, absolutely
like,
not.
You know what I'm saying? Like when we bring that up in a conversation, something's being said. Like you just gotta pay attention to what he says next.
Exactly. No, I'm just the main point. No, I'm totally cool with that. The main point was the fact that the storytelling was really compelling. I felt for every character, and that's what they need to bring to the table here. Like I don't want the same tropes over and over. Like the opening sequence for the most recent, like the Arrival that we just experienced. If we got to play a little bit, I don't know if you got to play much of it, but it's just Zavala being a dickhead again. No, you will not go there. Please don't go. It's like, why can't you have a little bit of an evolution of character? Give me something that says like, why does Zavala have such a stick up his ass? Why is Ikora nowhere to be found? They couldn't pay your voice actress enough to like say a line or two. Like, I mean, these are all. I mean, Eris is the contact of Ikora, so like, why isn't she in there? And why is our Guardian silent again? Like, there's so many things that irritate me, so many things that bug me, and everything. If you can't get the lore and the story right, get the science right. I made this huge post about the fact that this almighty thing that happened just a couple days ago was supposed to be much more spectacular and big than what it was, and people were giving it this leeway, saying that, oh, that's okay, it was cool, the explosion was cool. No, I will not.
I disagree, and the reason why I disagree is because this was literally the first time. Like granted, I understand I understand both sides, right? I do think that the live event was something that was a little bit. I think the time frame upon waiting was a bit hard to deal with.
The expectation wasn't set with like timelines.
Right. In terms of the actual event itself, this was not only we got to understand. Yes, there are many variables that apply, but this was the first time that Bungie as a developer has ever done anything like this. Even though there are formats that they could have followed, we already knew that everyone was going to compare this to Fortnite the moment that they revealed that there was going to be a quote unquote live event.
Set the bar that way.
Right. Like, so, and then on top of that, it wasn't like Fortnite, you know what I'm saying? Like, didn't set the bar spectacularly high. Like, you know what I mean? Like, starting off with Marshmallow and then ending it recently with the Travis Scott thing. And I'm pretty sure that there were maybe one or two in between Marshmallow and Travis Scott. But Fortnite's live event is like, they go above and beyond, right? But not only was this done for the first time in a game developed specifically by Bungie, but this was the first time that it was ever done in the format of Destiny, which in itself is a game that also has never been done. So the reasons why, like, I'm not entirely dissatisfied from the live event is because I can understand how the effort in which they were trying to implement a live event into something that worked with the game was what it was. At the same time, I can understand as well as, you know, the consumer side, why we was expecting so much more. It's just like I feel like there was a situation to where we were expecting way more, and we kind of had like more, like, because we had high expectations of it, we kind of made our own heads gassed up in terms of what they were actually capable of delivering. And that's not their fault. that's our fault.
Well, we set up ourselves based on like, oh, Epic has done this for Fortnite, Epic has done that. But you gotta understand,
Right,
it's two different games, two different studios. So just because
right.
Bungie sees a live event that Epic does with Fortnite, they're not gonna be like, oh, let's just do the exact same thing. They have to go into a science of it, and based on everything that Luke Smith said today, with the fact that
Mhm.
they've been piling so much crap onto Destiny that it's impossible almost to work with these files.
And
So
I can also
Good.
understand that like I'm wildly known as like Bungie's dick rider because I will always advocate for them. But at this, like, I'm just literally looking at it from the standpoint of what they're actually capable of working with versus what we think they're capable of achieving.
yeah,
Like that's where my mentality is that's where my perspective is at. So it may come off as dick riding, not necessarily to you guys, but like to people who watch and to people who interact with me on Twitter and so on and so forth. It may come off as me just like kind of letting things slide because I'm like an advocate for them or because I've interacted with them. But no, I really think it's a situation to where it's like I can be blunt with them just as much as anybody else, but I see the effort. That doesn't necessarily like this very well may have been a test theory for like future things to come. Like, okay, we can see that we can do this. We had space and time to do this. The next event can be bigger, and so on and so forth, which is something that they're actually known for doing. They'll start off small, and if it's a failure, they'll kind of figure out their way bit by bit by bit, which ties into what Perp is saying in terms of the consistency of lackluster storytelling over and over and
Yeah.
over again to where it's like stretched and elongated and prolonged. I can
As long as there's some
definitely
kind of
agree with
story,
that.
man.
I
If
can
there's some kind of
definitely agree with
cohesive narrative, if there's something that kind of compels me, I mean, I'm excited for it. When I first popped out, well, when I first downloaded the update and I started the mission and talking about Savathun, I mean, that's great. That's like this whole like overarching, as you can see, there was the queen part, right?
the
that.
Witch
Right, right.
Queen.
The Witch Queen. That's great. Like we all know what that's going to entail, and that's exciting. And I'm very excited for it because she's always been this mysterious figure. She's the hunter of the bunch because Oryx was the warlock. Savathun is the hunter, and then we'll see Zivu in sometime in the future, and that's the Titan, who's probably just going to punch everything. So it's going to be exciting. But I was also hoping to reveal a little bit more of for a new race. We didn't see any of that. Maybe that's cool. No, that's fine. But a new race would be cool, like of the actual darkness things, whatever they are, the
Well,
veiled, whatever they
from
call
from that, and I had this question because I was trying to figure it out. I think I was playing. I think it was the first mission, and then you have the cutscene. Where by the time this episode airs, I think everybody should have done the first mission at least. But the ghost says something about to Zavala that the ships aren't really ships, but they're like a sentient being. So from what I gathered from that, and if anybody's ever played Mass Effect, the ships to me seem like
it.
there are like Reapers in a sense.
Hmm.
And now obviously that's not going to be fun to because we can't actually engage with them in a fight. But then you saw like some kind of baby pyramid
I
ships,
mean,
but
you could in Mass Effect. You fought a whole fucking
that's true.
Reaper.
That's Mass Effect though. I miss
That was
Mass
cool.
Effect.
Yeah.
But there, I think from some of the scenes I saw while watching the trailer, they looked like Fallen, but they were augmented, and I could assume that that's like since they were in the Deep Stone crypts, so maybe they got like exo parts and they put them on, and they're trying to like sort of like how Siva turned the race different. But to your point, Purple, it's not a new race; it's just the same race, and they changed their outfit. So it's like
I don't
I
want
would
to
also like a new race, but I think honestly, I think we're not gonna get that until this whole story ends and the darkness is over with, and we go on to like something new. That's my assumption. I think we're gonna stick with these races because we still got to finish this whole story and then go from there.
There was a big Fallen that kind of looked like Vosik with the big like Siva like pyramid on his back. So I don't know how that's going to play out, but like you said, we'll see how it goes. I'm just hoping for something.
We might get Pyramid Head from Silent Hill.
Yeah,
Just come out.
speaking of big ass sword, I mean swords are a big theme, so you never know.
Yeah. But I'm excited, man. I'm glad that we're getting a new subclass. I'm glad. My biggest thing is the fact that they're bolting stuff that it's not applicable anymore, and being able to
I'm
take
scared
stuff
about
out.
that for sure. Yeah.
But Vault of Glass coming back is like that's everybody's been asking for that. So I'm excited.
I was saying this actually. They should have called it the Vault of Slash because they're slashing content. So it should have been just the Vault of Slash. They totally missed out on that.
I'm glad we have an intro for this video now.
I am 1000% against rehashing D1 and old D2 content.
No, I'm completely against you on this. I'll let you explain, but I'm completely against you.
So against that entire concept 1000%. The reason why is because throughout the entirety of D2, all of the most exciting things that we have experienced in D2 has been D1 shit. Last Word, Thorn, Osiris, Trials. It was all, granted, Trials I can understand. It's a PvP thing. I get it. But then that's a whole nother section, right? All of the exciting things that we've experienced in D2 has been things brought back from the past. And I can never ever be okay with that, because in one of the most recent updates, when they finally started saying Trials was going to get new armor every year, Crucible was going to get new armor every year, they were going to be bringing in new armor things to chase down and to hunt down every single year, and then everything that came previously in terms of ornaments, in terms of this, in terms of that, was going to be able to be achieved by completing in-game content as random drops. That was something that they had unveiled, and I thought that that was the most intelligent way to include past items, whether it be accessible or whether it be accessory, things that you can wear and X, Y, and Z. But in terms of bringing back old content to chase down and explore, I think that is something that needs to be thrown away. I think that's something that needs to be trashed, because it is, to me, it is literally a scapegoat in avoiding creating new experiences for the players. I can understand why people would like to experience Vault of Glass in D2. I can understand why that would be amazing to some players, but at the same time, what does that have to do with anything that's happening in the universe of D2? There's literally no reason to go back to the Vault of Glass at all. At all. Like, there's no reason for that.
I think that's wrong.
You think that's wrong?
I think that's wrong. I think
go for it. Go for it.
Mike, I'll let you speak very shortly.
Go for it.
Here's the thing about the Vault of Glass specifically. There's no reason to go back into Crota. Crota would just be like a rehashed strike, right? Like we all agree that Crota's a 6-man strike.
Okay.
But there's no reason.
You don't have a strike in D2 that's a full-fledged Atheon.
No, but here, listen to me.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
Vault of Glass was the first raid they ever worked on, but they had all the time in the actual game's development to make this raid and to have all these little nooks and crannies. There's still a debate out on whether there's another chest, and then they came out with this other quest that had a chest and all this stuff. The Vault of Glass has more questions in it than any other raid that we've encountered yet, and they could still make it different or make it spicy. I can agree with you on one small point, which is I don't want the same exact encounters in the same exact way. The game has evolved to a point where we have different abilities, things like that. I want a little bit more challenge, a little bit more difference in everything. However, we need to go back to the Vault of Glass. There's so much in there. And even if you remember, and I know it was it was a terrible expansion, but when we had the Curse of Osiris, it started with a cutscene in the Vault of Glass. There's so many little things that we really need to explore, and it could unlock other pieces of lore, and the Vault of Glass is essential to so much about the Vex in general. I really think that we can explore something about, because when you finally meet Atheon, he just kind of pops in from nowhere. But if you notice, he's in a giant, those weird triangle shaped things that you see almost in it's crystal. It looks like glass, but it's also similar to what we see on things like Io and things like that. Different planets have this sort of structure. Maybe we can get through there, or maybe there's parts of the raid where, or maybe we even go backwards through the raid where we start with an Atheon encounter. We try to get out of the tunnel, and then we try to get out. We try to get back out. I mean, there's so many different, and there's that whole other pathway we never went down that you could access by hopping on all those little, like, the little green parts and the side. I just think that there's so many ways they could do it. I love the Vault of Glass. I don't care about any other raids. I mean, we've killed Oryx. No point in doing Oryx again. I hated the Siva raid, so whatever, crucify me, whatever. I don't care. But Vault of Glass.
I think so. A couple different points. One, it's easy with the Vault of Glass because the whole thing is about time. So you can come up with a million reasons why we have to go back to the Vault of Glass because it's a whole time thing. That's like for story elements. But obviously they're thinking about bringing back all the raids, probably like a yearly thing. The reason why, and obviously it's different for you, Cliff. I see you're hitting me with the beanie eyes. It's different for you because you personally don't like that.
I'm calculating. No,
So,
I'm like calculating my responses to what you guys are saying. But go ahead.
So in terms of Destiny, a couple of different things I want to hit on. Bungie rehashing content is different now because they're getting rid of all the old stuff. So they're like, hey, we have some space, so here's something that you can experience now. One, for people who want to play that again, and two, New Light was free. Destiny was free on Steam, so there's so many people who have not ever got to experience that. So being able to experience the Vault of Glass and whatever else they want to bring back is going to be an amazing thing. Because how many people talk about the Vault of Glass, and there's some people like, oh, I don't know what that is. I never got to do it. So that's one thing. And then again, since they're clearing out everything, they have that space to play around with. So all they're really bringing back is something they already have, which is a raid. What was it? 3 strikes and the area to patrol. But it's still going to pertain to the story in some kind of way because we are going back to the Cosmodrome, Europa, and all that stuff anyways. So it's just going to be another area we have access to. But for D2, I mean, yeah, they brought back the moon. What else did they bring back from D1? Weapons and activities. But if you talk about spaces, all they really brought back that was old was the moon, and even that they changed it up a little bit.
That is true.
But in terms of story, there's a million things they can come up with, and it's not going to be a thing where, like he said, it's going to be what year 4 or whatever that the Vault of Glass, 3 strikes, and that patrol zone is coming back. But I don't think they're going to make a whole expansion or a whole season just surrounding that. I think it's just going to come back.
No, that would be a big problem.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem. But if it's something added on to what we already have already, and they're probably going to be able to easy make it compatible with D2 if they have all these layers that they're erasing and all this room to work with in the game. So yes, I agree with you. If a season comes out or if expansion comes out and it's only that stuff, I'm like, well, I already did this, so for me, this season's gonna be whack. For people who haven't played it, yeah, they're gonna enjoy it. But if they add it on to whatever else is new, I have no problem with that, and I prefer it because Vault of Glass, like I said it a million times, that's my favorite raid. But that's my thought process.
That makes sense.
All of those things make fantastic sense. I'm gonna start. In my responses, I'm gonna start with Purple. Purple made a specific point in terms of all of the untouched secrets in the Vault of Glass, right? There are a magnitude of untouched secrets in the Vault of Glass. The Vault of Glass is literally in the title in itself. It sounds and gives off the aesthetic of untouched wonders. Mike, you made the point of it being literally a vortex of time. So there's many ways that can bring us to a position to where we would have to return to the Vault of Glass. In my response to Purple specifically, it's contradictory to say that you want a new race and you want new experiences and then be excited to have a rehash or a return of the exact same thing. How many times have we interacted with the Vex? You see what I'm saying? Like, how many times have we been in a scenario where the Vex could have been a open and closed conclusion, like a good, healthy, a good reaction, a good amount of content to where it could have been a entryway, a full-on experience, and then a conclusion. But because of the fact that it's the Vex, because of the fact that they deal with the aspects of time, it always goes many different ways, many different areas, many different altercations to where the Vex always comes back, right? There's no real way to really get around that. right? The reasons why I'm saying that particularly is because that can still be done in terms of content, but not necessarily bringing in a raid as a necessary addition. I don't think that the Vault of Glass is a necessary addition in terms of having the Vex be intertwined into what's coming to be a fresh integration that involves the Vex. I don't like, and then on top of that, I really doubt that we're going to have new and fresh raid like bosses. I really think that you're still going to have to deal with a Gorgon. I really think that anything else is going to be the final boss. I think that the most thing that you're probably going to deal with that's different is that instead of it being yellow bars, you're going to be dealing with champions, which is something that was actually said in the reveal. Like you'll be dealing with right, but it's still the same thing. You're just dealing with just D2, like you're just dealing with D2 enemies that are not the main bosses of each section of the Vault of Glass. You're still going to be dealing with the same exact thing. So that's why I'm just like, that's not necessary. You can definitely take that same time and energy and put it into a completely new experience or a completely new activity. If you could take that energy and put it into rehashing the Vault of Glass and putting in some champions and a couple bit more harder enemies, I'm pretty sure that you could come up with something better than Gambit Prime.
I think though, real quick though, if it's a thing where it's already built in a sense, and they just had to change some of the assets to D2, I feel like it's not as much work as it's starting from the ground and going up. So my question to you would be, let's say a new season comes out or new expansion, and they do everything that we expect from a new expansion, but they add Vault of Glass as he's an extra thing we have. You could do this raid again, you could do these strikes. What's the problem in that?
The problem in that is that what's the point of adding an old raid to an expansion that could definitely have a completely new raid? You see what I'm saying?
Because everybody wants to play it. I mean, if you look at Twitter, everybody blew up because everybody wants to play it. So in terms of, not even in terms of story or expansion, it's just this is what people wanted. How long have people been saying, I want to play old raids?
Okay, so go back to D1 and play old raids. The problem with that is that people are complaining about D2 having new things to do, new experiences, new activities, fresh content, and then they bitch and moan and say that they want to play old shit. If you want to play old shit, get your fire team, get your ass on PlayStation 4 and play D1.
I used to play on GameCube, but okay.
Which is whatever. My point is that it's very aggravating. And again, I'm not against the idea that the thing is that people don't want to play old raids because it's old raids. They want to feel the way that they felt when they were playing those raids in the first place. So let's just reiterate that right there. If people felt the exact same way that they felt when they played Vault of Glass, the way that they played Garden of Salvation, you would not be having this conversation. If that experience, if that excitement, if that satisfaction was very similar or similar 100%, you would not be having this conversation. The satisfaction and the love that they had, the excitement, that feeling that they had playing the Vault of Glass is the reason why they want to play Vault of Glass. It's a nostalgic feeling, right? But at the same time, you can satisfy yourself with nostalgia, but what is the Vault of Glass going to do in terms of the progression of the actual game? There's what?
What you say?
Vexmith the class. That's the progression right there.
And that's another
we get a whole raid because we just want the weapons back.
No, but that's another problem right there. You sit there again. How many times have we played D2 to where literally what just happened? One of the most exciting experiences that people got just recently was what? Fellwinters. That's a D1 weapon. People go crazy over D1 things. When they had the last word came out towards the end of the last word trailer. What did people lose their mind over? Thorn bullets. What happened next? The Thorn came out. People get excited about D1 things because Bungie just brings in the shit that people know that they want. But the problem is that you can't get mad at Destiny, and you can't get mad at Bungie does and say, we want new this, we want new that, we want new this, we want new that, and then jump down their throats saying that we want to play and deal with old shit.
Well,
it's
the other coin on that, and I agree with you to a point. I mean, I haven't been one to complain. Like, my biggest gripe, I've told you already, it's always been about storytelling.
Mine too.
Right.
Here.
And that I can honestly, that in that aspect, I can honestly understand why they, at that point, then I can actually agree with you and therefore say this. The only reason why I would be okay, and this is the only way that I would be okay with bringing in old content or bringing in rehashed raids or rehashed strikes or even rehashed weapons, is if it actually integrates into the progression of the current storyline of Destiny.
I can feel you on that. But here's the other side of the coin, right?
I'll give you an example before you connect on with that.
Go ahead.
In terms of the new season, just to give you a brick example. In terms of the new season, this is just off the top of the head. It's not going to make any sense. Let's say that the Thorn was never brought back yet, right? Let's say that the Thorn was never integrated whatsoever. This new season is about the darkness and the hive and so on and so on, Eversmore and so on and so forth, blah, 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 blah. Right now would be a great way to integrate a Thorn story to unlock the Thorn in D2 because it connects specifically with the hive, with the darkness, with what's happening, with Erismorn. The whole aesthetic is perfect for the Thorn. That's the only way in my head that it should be done. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense to just randomly plop it in there. It's like, hey, by the way, Vault of Glass, you can try it out. You can play it. It's just there. It's just there for nostalgic feelings. It's there for literally experience and nothing more. It has nothing to do with the story. It has nothing to do with the progression. It has nothing to do with the original game. It's just there for your benefit. It's like a porn category. It's like if you want to dip and dabble into it today, you can, but you don't have to if you don't want to. It's literally there just to enjoy when you want to enjoy it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that there's any real reason for it to be there. You
can say almost, and Purple, I'll let you go after real quick, but you could also say the same thing for strikes. We do strikes like 50 times in a row.
Absolutely. And how many strikes become boring because they don't have any place to be there?
I don't think that Bungie just could release a new like the old raids and not have a story element to it. And that's why I said Vault of Glass is very easy to come up with a reason why. Now, when you come to Crota and
only
Oryx,
one, I think it's
that's an issue.
I'm not saying that.
I'll let you go to say what you want to say.
Right. Go ahead.
No, I think, well, the main reason I want Vault of Glass back in there, and we'll also move on because we have other things to obviously talk about. So if you want to get in there, Cliff, feel free. But the main reason I want Vault of Glass back in there is, yes, there's a nostalgic feeling, but it's also because I'm also worried about, and I haven't seen, like, we got to see how the new raid plays out. Because I've given Destiny all of its time with all the raids that came out, and none of them, not a single one, and it's not because it's the first raid I played, but it's just the fact that I like it so much, none of them feel the same way that the Vault did. And maybe it's because it's just so expansive, and there's a lot of different things going on, but you play Spire Stars, you play Leviathan, and you play Garden of Salvation. You know, they even call it the Vault of Grass. You play all these things, and you don't feel a sense of satisfaction. You feel like you're doing it just to do it, and I don't know what it is, or if there's a director that's just something weird going on. But none of these raids ever felt like I was doing something, and there was something of like a wonderment factor.
Nobody does the raids for fun. Like you and me used to play Vault of Glass for fun all the time.
I know exactly what that is. I know exactly why it's that way.
And that's the problem. And I can't even tell you like there's a solution to it.
Well, there is.
But I think that's the problem.
Every single raid that we have done since the Vault of Glass has been the conclusion to whatever it was, but we knew that there was nothing coming after it. Whereas the Vault of Glass still left a feeling of wonder. It still left questions unanswered. The Vault of Glass left us on a cliffhanger. Whereas Crota was like, oh, okay. Oh. It's like watching an anime that only has one season. Like, like you know what I'm saying?
True, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like Crota, same thing. Oryx, same thing. Wrath of the Machine, same thing. D2, all of them. Leviathan felt like both of you watch Full Metal Alchemist. It's like Leviathan felt like watching Full Metal Alchemist and having no idea that Brotherhood existed.
Right.
Like, you see what I'm saying?
There's like 3 chapters of a really shitty book. That's
what I'm getting. Like this is and I can and that's why I fully understand why people would want the Vault of Glass, but the solution to that would be, and I'm not saying that they're incapable of doing this. Everybody knows that I'm a rider for Bungie regardless, because I know how hard they work. I've been there. So I know, I get how difficult it is to integrate that. But again, as the consumer, that's where people have to be very blunt, right? They have to be very communicative. They have to be very detailed. In terms of the solution, anything that results in, whether it be strikes, whether it be raids, even the strikes in D1 leading up to the Vault of Glass, it felt like it was on track towards something. The Vault of Glass was the conclusion to all of the raids and all of the experiences that we had while in D1, but it still left us on a cliffhanger, questioning and ready to find out what was coming next. Plus, on top of that, the promotional value and the advertisement of the Vault of Glass was crazy. It dropped in the middle of the game, and nobody knew what it was. Nobody knew how to do it. We expect raids now. It's kind of like raids no longer have that effect of curiosity anymore. The reason why the Vault of Glass was so powerful was because nobody knew what to expect. Now we have things like raid races. Now we have things where, you see what I'm saying? Like it became so track record. Like we know exactly what's going to happen now. The moment a raid drops, now we have a situation to where we know when the raid drops on the day that it drops. We know exactly what day it's going to drop. We didn't know that for the Vault of Glass. It came up out of nowhere. Oh, by the way, it's going to drop on a Tuesday. Shit, it's Monday. What light do I have to be? Like, you had no idea what to expect, how to engage with it, how to beat it. Nothing.
You can't do that anymore though, because so many people will complain, being like, "Oh, I needed to request 3 months in advance, and I need to be light leveled, and I had to save my bounties, and I had to go sell my kid to go get time, all this crap."
Right, and that's the community's fault for being that way, right?
Perfect. You want to say something real quick?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Before we move on, because I know we're talking about this a lot, and I kind of want to get onto like what else we saw in the trailers. This last point, I want to correct myself. Actually, there was one raid. There's one raid that did kind of give me back that feeling, and I was happy to run it, over and over again a little bit in D2, and that was Last Wish. And I don't know what they did with Last Wish, but it actually did feel pretty cool. It was pretty awesome until they started tweaking the mechanics of the game here and there and here and there. And now a lot of the encounters are just kind of silly. Like you run at them, and it's like shotguns at Shirochi, and then the very first time, the first few dozen times really I ran that raid, I felt like it was a race against time. It was very everything just felt like really you had to be organized. That was a good raid. I got to be honest. Then and I was like, oh, that's cool. And I'm Kara. Like finally we get to see this thing. So that was my correction.
In terms of story, I would probably say maybe the reason why you like both of them is because Atheon kind of came out of nowhere, and there was still a lot of questions unanswered. And then obviously we had Riven, and we still don't really know what's going on with the whole curse.
That's probably a key of raids. Yeah, I mean, there really shouldn't be. It shouldn't be necessarily the conclusion of a story, but maybe it should be the gateway to something else. And I think
a raid in its entirety needs to have it needs to be the hardest thing to experience in the game. Period. I don't care what light you are. You could be cap, hard cap. It still needs to be difficult for the best raider. Period. Point blank. It's a raid. So you need to stop acting like that's one. Two, it should. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're
Two, it shouldn't be a situation to where, just like Mike said, just like Perk, it shouldn't be a situation to where it's a conclusion. It should be the ending of a chapter, but still letting you know there is a next chapter. That's the thing with Destiny. It was never a linear story. It's like Destiny in its entirety is like a comic book storyline, to where there's like what if like genres, and there's like second off storylines that you kind of have to follow. And this is like the what if comics, and then this is like Flashpoint up there. But every expansion is a different perspective of a different storyline that's happening randomly. So it's kind of hard to really follow. And then what's worse is that in D1, you couldn't even follow it. You kind of had to read things on the app because it wasn't in the game. So it's like there's just raids in its entirety are supposed to be the hardest activities in the game, but they are still supposed to leave you with a sense of urgency to find out what's coming next. It never should be a situation to where, like, by the end of the last wish, you shouldn't feel like that was the end of something. You should feel like that was leading to something worse, or something. Like, it feels like a raid should feel, by the end of a raid, it should feel like you only made a small dent into a bigger problem. That's what it should feel like, because if there's going to be a continuation, then it should never feel like things are over unless it's a part of the story. If you're going to make us feel like we fixed the problem, that means that the very next thing should be a total kick in the dick because we got comfortable. That was what D2 was supposed to be, right? We sit there, we finished D1, and everything was all great and dandy, and then Gaul came out. Why do you think the advertisement for D2 was so crazy? Because we find out that we were losing our light. Why do you think that worked so well? The Red War was something that we was excited about, because it's like, oh man, we gotta get our light back. And then the campaign was like, all right, we gotta fight literally to get our abilities back. Cool, great, fantastic. And then it became lackluster, because the moment we got our abilities back, we were back at the most powerful Guardians that we were used to being, to the point to where Gaul as a final boss was like,
I'm completely blanking. After we defeat Gaul, what was the raid after that?
It was no raid.
Leviathan. Well, it wasn't in the same thing.
It was Callus.
Yeah. It was Callus. Yeah,
Callus
came during that was the next raid, was the Leviathan.
It was weird though, because we've never actually had a real I guess by our stars, but we never had a real like Cabal themed raid, because the only other boss other than Callus in Leviathan were dogs. So, you think about that and you're like, what happened to, like, because if you got the collector's edition of D2, there was a little booklet that came out with it.
Talked about
and
all the members.
Exactly. Like, there's like a daughter of Callus, and there's like all these other characters that I thought were going to be like raid bosses. You would think
if you don't remember, I read that book and I hit you up and I was like, yo, I think this we gotta look out for this, we gotta look for that. Nothing happened. Never saw any of those people.
Nothing. But in D1, when you got the Ghost Edition, you were learning about everything.
Yeah,
every weapon,
gun
all
book.
of the exotics, the gun book, bro. All of the exotics in the game that you didn't even know were exotics was in the collector's edition.
The physical edition, right?
Yeah.
There's a physical edition coming out soon for New Light or
for Beyond Light.
Beyond Light, yeah. There's one edition where you get a 10-inch statue of Stranger, and there's another where you get like
it's like a lunch bag,
like a luggage. It's like luggage.
One thing I want to hit on before we move on real quick, what you said about the raid being difficult and the hardest thing, I completely agree with you. The only thing I have an opinion on what's difficult, and that's not getting hit with 2 shots and dying. Difficult for me is like getting a team together and getting the mechanics right. So I don't, and I'm not saying that's what you were saying. I just want to say that when I want something difficult, 100% I agree with you. I just don't want it to be a difficult thing where I come out of cover, I get shot, and I'm dead. I want it to be a thing where like there's mechanics and you got to kind of get the timing right, but it's not that you're getting shot and that's it. Like you always got to be in cover. Because I think a problem that Destiny's having right now, like if you think about like Grandmaster Nightfall and all this, is that you're always going from cover not to cover, and we don't have abilities to really mitigate the fact that we're getting shot and killed so fast.
I agree with that. To an extent, only for the simplistic fact of the moment that you get your timing and your mechanics down perfectly, at that moment the raid becomes easy peasy. That's when
you bring other people in.
Right, but then it's doing carries, but how often are you doing a 6-man raid with 4 carries? You see what I'm saying?
Clyde
Like
does
if
that.
Clyde,
Clyde's a beast.
that's his whole content. And on top of that, the people that he's doing it with are original Sherpas. So he has a complete team that he's been doing that since D1. You see what I'm saying? I'm talking about in terms of I want it to be a situation to where I can run with the same 6 people that I'm doing every single time. And every single time that we do a raid, it feels like a raid. Like, okay, we can learn the mechanics, but it's still difficult, not impossible, but difficult to actually achieve the mechanics, even though we learned how to do it. And the reasons why I'm saying that is because we learned that specifically in our era of us 3 specifically, in you and Perp's era growing up in our version of gaming, where there wasn't, you know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't easy. Even if you learned the timing, even if you learned the perfect timing, the perfect time to jump, attack, dodge, slide, whatever the case may be, it was still difficult. You see what I'm saying? It was still difficult, even though we mastered exactly how to do the level, it was still difficult no matter what. And that's what I think is really something that needs to be found within the aesthetic of Destiny, because ultimately it's becoming a situation to where we're getting what we want too fast and too easy. And in the beginning, the first day, it's difficult, but the moment we learn exactly how to do it, it's a situation to where the feeling immediately goes away. It's pointless. It's pointless.
So
but,
let's move on real quick. One question that you guys have after seeing the reveal. What's one thing that you either, oh, this is a question I didn't think about, or oh, this something I want them to clarify, or something I still want to know about, whatever it is, whether it's like story, whether it's gameplay, mechanics. What do you guys think?
This is good, Perp. I was talking a lot.
No, it's okay. I think the biggest story based questions I have, or at least one question, is now where has the Exo Stranger been all this time? I'm sure we're going to get the answer for that. But, you know, tying into like where she's been, how does she know? Or it seems that at least the Drifter knows the Exo Stranger, and the, you know, Eris Moore knows the Exo Stranger. They didn't shoot her on sight when they saw her on that, you know, that clip we saw. She wasn't like, oh, you know, Exo, shoot. They kind of knew each other, and there was a sense of camaraderie, like they had communication before. So I'm just wondering, since we know that the Drifter and Eris have dabbled in the darkness, like obviously, but you know, are there some things that we don't know about the Stranger? Are we going to have a final reveal that she's like Elsie Bray? Like, is she going to like show us something? I just want to know more about what we've missed in these past like 5 years. Like what about her? And then if the story revolves around her, that's totally fine. I'm cool with that. And what the hell was that little floaty thing next to her? She's not.
They confirmed it wasn't a ghost.
Yeah, it's not a ghost. She's not a guardian. So I'm wondering. You know,
I'm assuming it's something with the braids. Some kind of braid tech thing.
So, I mean, that's my major question. I just want to see where the story is and how well it's woven together. I want to see more cutscenes. Cutscenes are the thing that can weave a story together, because if you're just standing there with your character, just listening to stuff, you're not going to be drawn in. You need to have cutscenes, because, number one, cutscenes are kind of, coming from the 3D background that I know, they're not the hardest thing to put together. They're static, and they're there for everybody. Albeit if your character's in there, they have to model your character in there, you know, whatever the instance is, it doesn't matter. But all the other cutscenes can be pretty fluid. I just want story to be told. Oh, and one more question. Where the hell's Aldrin? And that's it. That's my question.
God, we're still waiting for that. I mean, we waited, 5 years for the Stranger, so maybe we have to wait 5 years for
another 5
to
years,
break the case, the curse and everything. But for me, I would say I kind of want to know more of like the direction the game is going in the sense of mechanics. You know, I mentioned this several times before. It's just like I feel like the game is too much shooter and not enough RPG. And are we gonna start getting these things where like we make lasting decisions and there's more. And I'm not saying like we talk to somebody, we have 3 questions or 3 responses and go from there, but it's just a little bit more to make it feel like we're really ingrained in the environment. And Luke Smith has talked about this before, and it's like an evolving world in a RPG MMO aspect, and I still feel like we haven't gotten that. Like, what's the game plan? Like, what exactly are we going to start doing to get to that kind of level? And I'm hoping the fact that they're taking all this old content, putting it back, and like I keep saying, they have all this room to play with. I feel like maybe then they can start doing that. Because I always felt like D1 had that element where the world felt alive. I always remember dropping down to Cosmodrome, and I would see a bunch of people doing a public event or exploring. But now I feel like I go into an area and nobody's there. Like there's 1-2 people. Even you go into the tower sometimes, there's like 3 people there. So
I feel like I feel like the universe in Destiny has kind of become not necessarily in a sense of distance, or it feels empty. I still feel like the world still feels incredibly vibrant. I still see people kind of doing X, Y, and Z, but I really feel like it's no longer a situation of exploration or a situation of curiosity. I feel like people log into Destiny to fill up that checklist and then log off.
I agree,
I
100%.
feel like that's where Destiny has become, to where it's and that's always the same thing. Like a new expansion or a new season or a new expansion, because expansions are obviously bigger. But the moment those things happen, the hype factor engulfs the community for the next 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months, however long it takes. And then once everything is kind of figured out and all of the weapons are kind of unlocked and all of the how-tos are kind of recorded and all of the content and the comedy and the memes are created and the cutscenes are shown, then it becomes the exact same thing. Everything dies down, the player base then dies down, and then everyone that logs in goes back to filling out that checklist every single week, getting that raid, getting that crucible token, getting that trials passage, getting this, getting that, and then they log off.
One thing I want to say real quick to your point, and I think the reason this happens, and I actually disagree with it, like the things they do, is that they have this thing where they show you all the weapons that are coming out, and people data mine the shit out of everything. So you completely eliminate the whole mystery artifact. And I loved getting weapon drops and not knowing what the hell it was. But now there's 3 new auto rifles. Once I get that, that's it. There's nothing else for me to explore. I completely agree with you.
That's the problem with having actually the game on PC. It's very easy to just check in the files. Well, not easy, I guess. You'd have to know what you're looking for, but you just look in the game files that you've just downloaded, and whatever's in the most recent patch, you just kind of filter out, and then you discover stuff. That's how they find all these like little audio bits. That's how they break it all down. I mean, it's unfortunate, but once it's on PC, it's basically unwrapped.
Well, actually saying too, PC 60 frames per second on console.
On the next gen consoles.
Yeah, that's huge.
Not only that, but crossplay for crossplay for the ecosystems of console specific ecosystems. Excuse me.
Xbox One with what are they calling the new Xbox?
Xbox
Project
Series X. Series X.
Series X. Yeah.
Whatever. X. Xbox Series X.
The Xbox
PS4, PS5, because PlayStation keeps it simple.
Hey.
Fanboy, but they keep it simple.
No, I'm saying keep it simple. Like that's good. Like,
and I heard it's coming out for PC too. So if you guys get a PC too, get it.
But no,
I see cross-platform because they were talking about they want to get it done, but I know that PlayStation's a pain in the ass. They
and they won't fix that till anti-cheat is fixed on PC, I think, because they're not gonna. PC community is already dealing with that. They definitely don't want to put the whole cheating aspect on consoles and ruin it for people on consoles too.
Yeah, that'd be terrible. But to answer your question, I think this is the first time in Destiny where I'm not really 100% solely focused on PvP, and I know it's a lot coming from me. I'm really not dedicated to PvP currently in Destiny. I'm really dedicated to the storyline. I'm really dedicated to the narrative. I'm really dedicated to
welcome to the PvE Brotherhood.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a part of the PvE Brotherhood. I'm more along the lines of where we're going to end up.
It's okay, bro.
how
We'll keep you safe, bro. It's okay. Come.
how people are
Come,
going to
come.
interact with the shut up. How people are going to interact with the storyline. How the storyline is going to interact with the Guardian. How things are kind of going to fall into place. I really feel like what it should be, what it should have been for the longest time, should have been a row of dominoes. And unfortunately, for the longest time, it's been not that. Every piece that falls needs to connect with another piece, and that's something that Destiny has kind of been difficult trying to obtain for the longest time. And I'm really dedicated to how this looks. And upon me watching the reveal, that's the question that drew into my mind. I didn't, as the entire time that I was watching the reveal, I didn't think at all about PvP. I thought about how New Light, or not New Light,
Beyond Light.
how Beyond Light was going to integrate with the what is it? The witch, what is it?
The Witch Queen.
Witch Queen, how
And,
Beyond Light was going to integrate with Witch Queen, and how Witch Queen was going to integrate with Lightfall.
Lightfall, yeah.
And the way that it sounds is that it sounds like the story narrative, and again, brings me back to the topic that I said in previous episodes of the filler. There was somebody who read the lore and dove deep into the lore of Destiny and actually found out that there are things that can actually detest to the idea of the Traveler being someone who is actually an advocate of darkness, and we Guardians are actual sinister beings overall. So all of the enemies that we're facing are actually characters that are reacting to our invasion of their homelands and of their existence. So the Fallen, the Vex is actually trying to go back and forth within time to stop the Traveler from becoming the Traveler. The Fallen are reacting to us invading their lands and pillaging their existence, so on and so forth.
It's funny you said that, because
thing.
that first mission, Eris was making it seem like the darkness was trying to commune with us to like stop the hive from doing some shit. So that'd be interesting to see.
That makes sense, because if everything that's happening right now is kind of really diving deep into that narrative, because if we are a part of the light, why are we able to control darkness?
Luke Smith did say there's gonna be a lot of twists and turns that are gonna make us be like, what the hell?
But again, there is documents and lore that is in D1 that support this theory. So it's not something that people are pulling out of their ass. Like, this is a supported statement. There's things that say this, even down to lore of alien text from Fallen that read out, once deciphered, that we are in fact sinister beings. So like Guardians are technically zombie army forces of the Traveler, in which is causing a mass, X, Y, and Z of so on and so forth, which again makes sense because Aldrin committed a terrible deed, and every time a Guardian wakes up with a ghost, they have no idea what they did in their past life. It makes a lot of sense.
We could all be killers.
We could all be horrible human beings, and then we just wake up, and then all of a sudden we just these super dope individuals that's like heroes of the world, and nobody knows it. I don't know, man. Something seems fishy. Nothing is ever that simple. And I think Destiny is really going down that narrative to where it's like, I'm really intrigued to figure that out, because even in the expansion's title, you have Beyond Light, the what is it?
The Witch Queen.
The Witch Queen, Beyond Light, the Witch Queen, and then Lightfall. Makes a lot, like,
based on those, it looks like right now we're gonna go into Wielding Darkness. The second one, we're gonna obviously most likely fight Savathun, and the third one, it makes it seem like we're gonna finally be like fight the darkness themselves.
Or we might find out that we are actually the darkness. The reasons why I say that is because in every single time they revealed the title of each expansion for the year, they were giving out like an incentive. They were giving out a text or an audio. And when they produced Lightfall, the audio that played while that promotion came through was somebody saying, I think it was Eris, saying, in the midst of something along the lines of, sometimes you have to pick a side, even if it's the wrong side. So yeah, it might end up being a situation to it. Like, I really, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if in Lightfall, you find out that you are actually a terrible person and being controlled by the Traveler, and you end up having to fight the Traveler. That's where my head is at.
If they want to do what Blizzard does, and I like what you're going, is if they all right, they're trying to wrap up the whole story. They have a million threads, like we keep saying, and I think now with these expansions coming out, they're little by little sewing it up to finish it so that we can continue on to a new story. If what I'm thinking is right in saying this, when you get to the Lightfall, let's say that's the last expansion before they come out with a whole new story, this is the perfect time to have the decision making where you say you side with the Traveler, or you side with the Darkness, and you have the whole Alliance versus the Horde like Blizzard does in World of Warcraft. Because I feel like a lot of people have been asking like, two different sides, and I think that's the perfect part to be like, all right, guys, we're coming up with D3 or just Destiny, because I think they should just call it Destiny at this point, and just be like, choose your sides. And obviously, you're not restricted to that. We can make a million characters. You have sides on both of them. But I think that would be the perfect time to introduce something like that.
Honestly, that makes
even down to the PvP, that would actually be pretty dope. Because even down to the PvP, you can have it be a situation where instead of you're going against Alpha versus Bravo, you got Light versus Dark, and then you got, you see what I'm saying? Like, that would actually be a pretty dope situation.
And you get people too that choose. So like Shaxx would be like, oh, I'm gonna like forget the Traveler. I'm gonna go with the Darkness, and Zavala will be like, no, we gotta stay with the Traveler. And you got these people making decisions.
Right, and even the PvP audio would actually be pretty dope. Where if you choose the Light, you hear Zavala speaking, and that'd be pretty shitty. But if you choose the Dark, you hear Shaxx speaking. So I think that would make more people choose the Darkness in general. Because like, I don't want to hear.
I want to hear Daddy Shaxx.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to hear Zavala talking to me during Crucible.
A Sith deals in absolutes. No, but I've also always said that. I've always felt like you need to have permanence in your decisions. So that'd be really cool. I think the coolest decision I've ever made in Destiny was deciding to be New Monarchy. Like you
ripped that hard, bro.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like when you have an RPG, especially an MMO or whatever, it's a looter shooter, whatever you want to call it. If it's an MMO and that's where you're steering the game, I don't know if that's what they're doing, but having a choice and then repping that choice is so important, and it can't just stem from hunters, titans, and warlocks, because people usually make all three anyway. There's no permanence in that. But once you pick a faction, let's say, and you roll with the faction, that felt good. That felt right. That felt like, all right, this is what I want. This is how I'm going to stand up for it.
I think you on moral grounds too. You would choose New Monarchy from what I remember, and even if like FWC or Dead Orbit had stuff, you still would not choose them because you're like, I'm not.
No, never that. I would never. Their shaders dismantle. Their guns dismantle.
It was a moral. It was that I feel that because I felt the exact same way about Dead Orbit, mainly because of the fact that when I first chose Dead Orbit, I just wanted the all black shader. That was really what it was. That was really the selling point for me. But overall, even now, you'll never hear me go against Dead Orbit, even though their shaders are shit. I made my choice. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just what it is. So I 100% agree with what he's saying. And I hear why he's saying it, because it's really a situation to where you had something that was so meaningful in D1 that really stuck with you, because once you chose that faction, it literally applied in everything that you did, whether you did strikes, whether you did Crucible. It literally gave you tokens and points specifically to that faction, to the point to where when you went back to that faction, you could get armor, you could get weapons, you could get gear. Like, there was things that were there. You could get class items. I didn't even know that there was an exotic class item until I realized that you could do that with the faction that you chose. And then they all had different ones. So I fully understand that. I fully support that idea. I really think that idea overall is one of the most important things that Bungie needs to tune in and zone in and focus on directly, because for a player, when it comes down to Destiny, it really feels like we're all on the exact same path. It really feels like we're all on the exact same page. And that's okay. But at the same time, it feels like there needs to be more that makes it a bit more of a unique experience, particularly to the player. I shouldn't have to feel like I'm playing for the exact same end goal that everyone else in the world is playing as. Yes, we can fight the same monsters. We can fight the same big bad boss. We can fight the same big bad enemies. 100%. But I should feel like I'm my own universal character on the fire team of my other fire teammates versus this particular person. So I 100% agree with that. I feel that that's very important. I feel like that's a very good thing to stay true to.
So
You know what I mean?
I wanna wrap it up, but there's one question I still have. First, I want to make a comment and say that I feel like we're getting to like a Marvel Avengers Endgame type thing with all this story being like tied up.
Agreed.
There's one question I have, and I think a lot of people actually have it. Purple, did you ever get your commentators?
Never, ever. I think I told you once, right? I actually spoke to Cosmo through Twitter. He reached out to me, I think, and we were just kind of chatting back and forth. This was after the second Guardian Con we'd ever went to.
I think that's when we advocated. Didn't we go to like every creator known to man and they made videos?
And yeah, we made the videos. It's like I reached like level 960 something. I think I can go back and check, but
I remember that streak.
Yeah, there was no way to give it. There's no way to give it, and there's the only solution in the game requires me to leave New Monarchy, join a different faction, then join New Monarchy again, and I could never do that. There's a moral question there, and I could never cross that. So I'd rather not have the last thing I ever needed over 900 levels ago that I should have got. But
I like a man that respects his convictions, man.
It's what it is. That's the cool thing, though. Like
what you can do now, though, is you can advocate for an emote. No, I'm dead serious, bro. If they know about it and they know that you have, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna make that a thing. The fact that Cosmo knows that you never got your commentators because of a bug. Remind me, do me a favor, log in to D1, get a screenshot of your rank in New Monarchy, and send it to me.
Well, I might actually go back and
if we get somehow managed to get an emote for this man for not having commentators somewhere similar to the emote of John Travolta with the
the ship in my hand.
There should be an emo of you like depositing like coins and just being like when you don't get it.
Yeah, more sense.
Or his idea having a emoting a commentators in his hand.
There you go.
Like calling it juice. I got the juice. I got the juice. I'm down with that.
All right. I wanna thank you guys obviously for coming on.
Of course.
Getting the time to talk. Obviously, we're very passionate about Destiny and Bungie. The obviously we do a weekly shout out. My shout out this week is gonna be for Bungie, but more specifically for Luke Smith. Two shout outs really. First, I want to applaud Bungie for the opening of the stream for the George Floyd tribute. I thought that was great. And second, I want to applaud Luke Smith because he said something and I was like, damn, I already had a lot of respect for him, but my respect grew even more. And he was talking about like, oh, we did this and this and people didn't like it and that was on me. And this is the head guy. This is like the director of the game. And he's like, you know what? Blame me. Don't blame anybody else. Blame me because this is my fault. And it takes a lot for the boss to be like, yo, this is all on me, guys. So I wanna shout out Luke Smith for saying that because I think a lot of people did appreciate that, and I saw a lot of people on Twitter were talking about it also. So, but I want to thank everybody for sticking around watching the episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can follow us all down below, social media wise, streaming wise, and all that good stuff. And I think we'll probably be back next week talking more about Destiny and how we thought about the first week. And our thoughts probably on the dungeon that comes out today too, or Tuesday whenever this episode releases. But yeah, just want to thank everybody for watching, and see you later.
But